What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Redemption 46 Studios. I'm Nick.
I'm Curtis.
You know the vibes. Y'all seen the picture. Y'all seen the thumbnail. Y'all know why y'all here. Xdinary Heroes, haircut. We kept saying extraordinary. Felt like it was there. After hearing a couple of their joints, shit was extraordinary. I think it was a strawberry cake joint or whatever that was like fire. I don't think you were here for like them, but it was a nice group and shit. But this is like they like newest comeback called Haircut. Seen people asking about it in the comments, so this should be interesting. Like I really bang with them, and kind of want to see how you gonna like you know what I mean, your first sound of them. No long talk though. We can jump in here. Yeah, y'all better be subscribed already. I don't think I need a haircut.
I'm telling you. Well, that's a son. Oh, that's it. That's interesting. I didn't know they were like a band.
Yeah, but I thought they do rock.
No, that was a pleasant surprise. I like that.
Know who they signed to? JYP in this bitch.
All right.
Shit.
Teaser for next track, possibly? Or next concept, I would assume. Oh, that's nice. We were all... That was cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to throw the little JYP thing out because I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I hate comparing and everything. When I first seen them, I had got some Stray Kids energy, and it's probably just kind of just that, you know, the rebellious kind of look. I think like Stray Kids kind of like did that very well. I think after I initially listened to like the first couple tracks and stuff, I think they're two totally different groups.
No, absolutely.
So while you weren't here, we had like a big conversation about rock and roll and K-pop.
I imagine it was with Day 6, right?
So
because Day 6 is also in their JYP, and I was gonna touch on that a little bit.
So initially, my big question that we had was, well, first our convo started off from a group chat, and we were talking about how I had questions on why rock seems like it's left the forefront with music in general, and why no one is not reinventing it, but just kind of trying to do different things with it, and it turned into a long spill. All that leaked into why no one utilizes rock in the K world. So I was asking the Redeemers questions, and only thing Redeemers kept saying, because mind you, we've done a lot of 10K Rock and FTS Island.
Yeah, and also I don't know how much we've gotten into, if any at all, but I know the Rose is also another group.
So
it's in that one.
So the Redeemers, they kept saying the Rose, Day 6, and they were telling us Xdinary Heroes.
I believe all JYP, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
So I had a full conversation when we got into it.
JYP seems to be exploring the.
I was like, yo, I think I know why no one is tapping it, because JYP is the leaders of like trying to harness the whole rock aesthetic, especially with all those groups.
Yeah, just to bring it up, we had literally just talked about in the most recent NCT reaction, as far as artists in general kind of expanding and taking the path less chosen. When you think of every instrument in general, every voice is an instrument, right? Every unique voice is going to fit a different thing, a different octave, or rather your ability to stretch within those octaves and those registers. So it gives you more versatility and freedom to explore. You see, for example, instruments doing the same thing. You see it within, complexities within my favorite instrument personally, like the piano. It can be really slowed down and a horror theme, like the Michael Myers theme. It can be incredibly somber, during the scene of someone being lost in a film or something like that. But it plays the extreme of being extremely scary and then extremely sad and somber. And it's the complexities within the instrument and how you use them. You see that with violin. I've seen that with guitar. Differences between, acoustic guitar versus electric guitar and everything like that, as far as, rock vibes versus, more country vibes perhaps. But all that to say, every instrument kind of presents its own complexities and uniqueness. Now, if you're telling stories that are complex, and you know that these instruments all have the ability to do different things, the freedom and willingness to explore them, they're all tools that can be used. And it's just, I don't know if it's to say that, the BPM of a particular K-pop song might cater to a certain audience, it might be a turnoff perhaps too. And the fact is, I don't even necessarily believe it's a turn off necessarily, but rather it's an unexplored or limitedly explored sample size, I would say, to where it might be considered a business risk to explore. But I'm really glad to see, groups taking the opportunity to explore those things, just musically. I think whenever, and I don't even want to turn this into that, but when that artists have to perform incredibly difficult choreo, especially, JYP particularly. I'm just saying as far as, what is programmed within, the up and coming things. Not to say that anyone else doesn't have complex choreo, of course, but when you factor in choreo and then vocals and then rapping ability and all those things, and it's like learning multiple languages, mind you, they have to, I don't want to say cater, but knowing that the Japanese market is also very big for K-pop, so artists have to, have some Japanese, or at least learn, some of the lines.
Apparently, we think that the Japanese market is real big for rock stuff too.
Okay, no, and that would totally
they have
make sense
J-Rock and everything over there too. So,
but all that to say, it's just when you add ability to play instruments / having to play instruments on top of those things, it definitely adds a lot of complexity to those things as well. It's just really artistically satisfying to see groups that are able to expand and explore so much artistically within that. I'm not even necessarily sure that that's particularly a JYP thing, but nonetheless there's coincidences there that it seems that they're trying to push a little bit more of that, and just the music head in me in general is just the exploration of that is very fascinating. Yeah,
because regardless of if it is or if it isn't an agenda, it's definitely something that's being noticed.
Yes.
With them, because like I said, the whole Day 6 and then just them is just like, oh, okay, I'm seeing like a theme.
And also, just to bring up Day 6 for a brief point as well, congratulations was their debut. So it wasn't all that to say. It wasn't that they were brought in to do a specific thing and then changed to more of a rock element, where it's like it was something that was noticed. It was something that was, at least to my understanding, kind of set out from the beginning. So all that to say, it just seeing them and doing this, and this being at least my first known exposure to them, if I'm not mistaken, at least. That's that's just something that's really interesting to me.
Yeah. What the pattern that I'm seeing from them is I don't want to say like back to the basics, but I like what they do. They seem very much like grunge rock, guitar rock. Just imagine if y'all were like, in your cul-de-sac or like just walking past and you seen some guys like kind of playing in the garage and like just kind of like playing with some tunes and doing stuff. They give me a lot of that energy, and like that's energy I kind of used to love with rock. Especially more alternative or pop rock or soft rock, whatever people want to call it, because that was another kind of debate we had about just literally certain elements of rock could change the entire complexity of what that was. If they were going for like a heavy metal sound and then like a pop beat or something comes in, it kind of ultimately changes the integrity or the entirety of whatever rock element it was. We almost went as far as to say, and I guess me myself, that rock might be the most if one ingredient changes, the entire dish changes, like type of situation when it comes to music. Then we had the whole 808 argument. 808s can't be in rock. It's rap rock, dumbass. Like, nah.
Honestly, K-pop in general is just so incredible at blending multiple elements in general that even if it wasn't something that quote unquote fit,
it's something that they did like themselves and stuff.
Could, make fit.
But I like this track. I'm not sure if it's like entirely like a download for me, but I do get in my moods where like I play like rock and stuff. I have like a whole rock playlist. I wouldn't mind if this was on that playlist. I'm not sure what part of my playlist it was, because I kind of do like more hyper rock and more kind of like up and about. But their whole concept of just like kind of getting a haircut and everything is like just real cool. Got some nice hair. Some of them don't need the cut. I also like with them, like they have like a certain like, I don't want to say color palette or aesthetic. Literally, if I start playing you other videos, you'll start to notice like this blue hue mixed in with like reds and like oranges, greens, and other stuff that they do. I'm not sure what type time they on like with the color palette, but it's given like Underworld meets like but like with more of color pops in it.
That's interesting.
Let me see if it like jump on here. See exactly what I'm talking about. Which one was the banger? Was it Strawberry Cake? I'm not sure if you're seeing the same color palette.
Yeah. Almost like it seems like a use of fog, seemingly. Like that hue.
He was vigilant for me last time.
Vocals too. Vocals. All right. I see what you mean by the garage band aspects too, where it feels like they could just be in a smaller setting.
Yeah, so we'll jump into some.
I was gonna say, now that track sound crazy too.
Yeah, that was the joint I downloaded from them, and I just thought it was dope.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to download that when I get a chance.
Yeah, the color palette though, like I said, there's a certain color palette and certain aesthetic that they have and shit. And a couple more tracks, not the track we just kind of listened to in particular, but I did like how a lot of their tracks, like they were standing out to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, they have like a dope sound, and I'm just real big on like everybody doesn't need to sound like exactly the same, like in K-pop or in any genre. So like when the Redeemers talked about them, Day 6, the Rose, obviously like I said, one OK Rock, like FTS Island, yeah, like it's just I was enjoying all that because we have like, you know, obviously Dreamcatcher like you know, does a lot of the rock aesthetic. Even when Hyphen jumped into like the Blessed Cursed and a couple other tracks that are real like kind of guitar rip heavy, it feels good. It just seems like a like you said, an instrument that's not really played upon that much in the K world, and I'm not sure if maybe not so much they having difficulties like you said, kind of being able to play with it enough for it to sound obscure or for it to give a different feeling than maybe they want to portray. Or maybe they're getting certain samples of beats or doing certain things and it kind of sounds normal or safe, and maybe some groups are staying away from some of that. But it's definitely, I definitely do want to hear like more guitar, just with like idols in general. Which maybe I'm tripping, because didn't the Good Girl Gone Bad have a guitar rip in it too?
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay, some of these idols are playing with it then, because like I said, and those mostly, like I said, I named the Hyphen and then I named them. Those are 4th gen groups, so they're playing with them.
I mean, there's the electric guitar solo as well in Tomorrow, BTS.
True.
As well. That was one of the first ones I remember, at least personally hearing.
Wavy Takeoff has a guitar. It has guitar in it, and I think another joint too.
But it's weird. It's just all the tracks that seem to have had like staying power as well. So I don't know if it's the instrument itself or the variation within, as far as, you know, oh, it was different, so it stood out. Slash, you know, easier to remember if you look at it that way. But it just, you know, it seems like whenever it's present that it adds a lot to a track, personally at least.
Yeah, so I'm good, because I'll table some of the conversation, because I'll wait for us to, because we're supposed to get into a whole documentary that's like 30 minutes long, or I think like real big, that talks about it talks about rock and roll in the K world.
All right, awesome.
And they have a full like discussion about that, so I'm pretty sure all these groups will be mentioned. But just shout out to the Redeemers. Like you said, I had so many questions about it, and I honestly kept saying, I'm like, dog, why isn't nobody tapping this market? Then as soon as they pointed me to JYP and shit, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I think they cornered the market with rock shit, and at least from what I see, Xdinary Heroes and Day 6 were doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I believe Day 6 is older, so I believe maybe like not so much passing of the baton, because I think they still outside and everything.
Wait, you said Day 6?
Yeah.
I believe, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe like in that Gen 2-ish kind of era, maybe beginning-ish of Gen 3. But.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they were more kind of like of the Gen 3, and then like this is more Gen like 4. So just kind of like
probably more Gen 3 as far as the Day 6 thing. Just thinking back on kind of what was going around or going on around that year. But just to briefly touch a little bit on the video itself and everything, and kind of subject matter. I wasn't particularly crazy on the actual line within the hook as far as the haircut thing. As far as the I don't want to say call and response, but it felt like a line that was catered to a call and response, so maybe it'll be a little different, like if you see like a live show, or as far as how they kind of utilize it. But it was something that I didn't feel like necessarily stuck with me. But I did ultimately end up liking, the song, yes, but the kind of concept as well, in the sense that they were kind of talking about, at least in one of the rap lyrics, I believe, was about kind of being blinded by the hair in your eyes, seemingly. Like they used it as like a metaphor for a veil, seemingly. Like you're being like obscured, that you need that haircut to then have that clear vision. But then it kind of took it a different direction when they, the one member had their hand in front of the lens, and then when they took it down to mimic your eyes being opened after the seeming haircut, that everything was destruction around it. You saw the fire and everything. So I don't know. I mean, again, you talk about album concepts and things of that nature, so I'm not sure where it plays in or anything like that. But seemingly, what you once thought was a utopia is actually a dystopia, and you're kind of being unveiled to seeing some of the literal, problems in front of your eyes. So I thought that aspect of it was done really well as well. I liked all the funhouse sequences because it played on the clowns as far as, again, masking yourself. The smoke and mirrors section of being in the mirrored rooms where there's like 100 mirrors around you, and that causing the split, reflections of yourself, like just not kind of, having those questions of identity rather. Mm-hmm. So I thought all that they did within that was done really well. I also liked the shot where it said the garden at the top for welcoming, but then it actually flipped to danger, which I liked. Again, once the veil's off for the seeming haircut, that you then are exposed to what was once a garden is actually a danger. Ironically, playing on kind of biblical as far as garden temptation and things like that. So I don't know, but nonetheless, I liked the production aspects as far as how they aided what was told in the lyrics. But they're really. I didn't want to say. I didn't want to say extraordinary or whatever because it was, but it was like that was the word that was kind of coming to mind. But I'm really liking kind of the lane that I'm seeing carved out, and particularly with what you had shown me of the strawberry. Mm-hmm. What was that, strawberry cake?
Strawberry cake.
Okay, so I'm interested for sure. But yeah, all in all, this was something that was really cool, really unique. Definitely the rock aspect shocked me because I didn't know if they were. I don't want to say a more typical K-pop group because I know K-pop groups are basically doing everything. But it was. I know
what you mean. It was a little bit more traditional.
Yeah, it was more of a natural shock for me. I would say when the rock elements kind of came in.
Yeah, and that's where they get their extra brownie points from me. I mean, like I said, you can attest to it. JYP isn't scared to take kind of big swings and just to do things differently than other people are doing it.
I was gonna say just him. He's also an artist that performs as well, so he has songs that are disco songs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like they've kind of seemingly explored, and I'm not saying obviously other labels don't do any of those things, but it's just to my exposure of what I've seen those kind of explorations a little bit more so. But again, that's more so just perhaps tunnel vision as opposed to seeing the whole picture. But nonetheless,
I don't think you're too far off.
I see how that plays into what's happening with them, and just basically that lore of what I'm seeing from there has given me a lot more excitement to explore them.
Yeah, and also like with the way K-pop is and stuff like that, this just seems, I don't want to use the term bizarre because some people take that as kind of like a negative annotation. But just like I said, if the K-world is going like right, I feel like they, so far from what I've seen, have been doing things that's left. Even like you said, the whole haircut thing, I almost really can like reach for the stars if I want to for like kind of what I think they might be alluding to as far as like getting a haircut. Getting a haircut is almost like changing your image up or changing your perspective up.
I mean, yeah, they're literally in the funhouse and you're seeing, them surrounded by 1,000 mirrors, calling into question of identity, the fog, keeping with the blue hue. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely does fit. If that's what they were going for, sure, then, I felt like they achieved that very well. I don't think they sat down in the writer's room and were like, we should really get a haircut. It's like, yo, say that again.
He's like, nah, because my identity has changed now.
It works. It works,
And also, like we said, with the whole concept thing, it's very hard to do concepts, just because so much stuff has been done. So for someone to kind of even take something like haircut, and even if you're playing on the whole, identity, like not so much crisis, but just using a haircut as an analogy to for you to play with identity in a song.
It's a metaphor for identity that I haven't at least heard explored nearly as much. And just to add a little bit of a layer to that, possibly, I'm not sure if it's quite going to stick necessarily, but just it's also interesting come to think of it now that idols in particular for comebacks and everything, they always have to change and dye their hair. So I could see something like that being at least a little bit more relevant identity-wise. Like if you're questioning your identity and then you're like, oh, I'm dyeing my hair, I'm growing it out, I'm cutting it. I could see how that would play into someone who is struggling to kind of find who is them amidst this, aspect. So it just, nonetheless, it could be something that holds a lot more weight, culturally, and things of that nature. Again, just a theory, of course, but
no,
it's interesting though.
Especially for when most idols are like kind of more clean cut and everything. Yeah. So imagine them just being like the rebels. Should we get a haircut? Should
Rock
we change?
Was born out of rebellion.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. Should we get a haircut? Should I change who I am to fit in with the social norm? So it's, you know, and like I said, I could just be reaching, but it's always interesting, and I love when they leave things open ended. I know redeemers will probably jump in here and tell us like, no, they actually meant this, but I do love when things are a little bit more open ended and just up to your interpretation of whatever you think those lyrics like, you know, mean and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is a good joint, man. Jump in the comments, let us know like how y'all felt about this. Definitely like a clean comeback. I'm a sucker for anybody that's just kind of going like pushing back against some of the social norms, especially when like that's their whole aesthetic and it's not forced. Because sometimes you definitely can feel when people are just doing shit to do shit. Yeah. But I really like this group. I want to hear a little bit more, especially from B-sides, and really get into like the members and stuff. Because bro kept getting me and shit. Because last time they all switched their hair up. Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, but they all switched their hair up, so that shit kind of just threw me off. Yeah. Like watching the reaction, because I swear for like the first 3 vids, they all kind of had like the same hair. Then ironically on fucking haircut, now everyone's hair look different or longer. But yeah, jump in the comments, tell us how y'all feel about this. Love y'all, redeemers. We're gonna holler at y'all.
Take care.
Peace.